Good morning to you, Mark Seth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for the 27th of September 2013. Not a whole heck of a lot to talk about out there today. There are a few areas to point out. One of them, outlined in yellow here, low percent probability of development. A tropical wave out here in the Atlantic interacting with an upper level low pressure area. We'll take a look at an infrared satellite loop of the good deal of the western Atlantic basin, and there's the tropical wave right there, pretty well developed itself, but you can clearly see this upper level low back to its west and the interaction between the two causing this flare up of shower and thunderstorm activity. Now this low pressure area should weaken enough that this tropical wave, as it moves around the system in a high pressure area farther to the east, this might develop a little bit. But it won't matter because you got the westerlies up here that would easily carry this system on out to sea, even more so than it already is. In other words, it'll be moving away from any land areas. Then we've got low pressure starting to take shape right in here, east of Florida, southeast of the Carolinas. And this is the low pressure system that the Euro was forecasting several days ago to take shape. And it had that look of sort of a cousin of Sandy, if you will, a distant cousin. Sandy was, the big-time wicked witch of the East, quite literally, and this would be like a very distant cousin. You don't want to start comparing anything to Sandy because of the damage that it did, and it really starts to get people anxious. But one of the biggest things about it was the track, where it looked like it was going to come back towards the coast. I think that's what had a lot of people scratching their heads and saying, wow, another Sandy type storm, mainly because of the track. So there it is, the low pressure area starting to develop, and it'll move east a little bit, and then it looks like it will get blocked and turn back towards the north and north-northwest over time, and eventually impact New England. If we look at the GFS from this morning's run, here is the low pressure area right there, very easy to see. And if we go through the frames here, just watch what happens with this area right here over the next 5 days, how it comes up and then gets closer to New England and then finally fades off towards the Canadian Maritimes. As I put this into motion, you see what happens with that. It takes it a couple of days to develop. Pretty good northeast winds blowing through here. Going to pile up the water a little bit out there across the western Atlantic as you've got this strong high pressure area coming out of Canada and New England. And a pretty stiff northeast breeze for the next several days. And then the low pressure area finally starts to get some energy with it, more convection. I don't think it's going to be tropical or even subtropical. We'll see. The water temperatures are certainly warm enough out there, but this just has a very large spread out look to it, so that I don't even know if it would classify as a subtropical system. Maybe right there towards the end of the run here as we get towards the first part of next week. That's getting kind of tight in there in terms of the look to it. Still probably pretty spread out. You can see the precip shield coming around this way, more comma shaped than anything. So we'll see. The Hurricane Center will talk about it if need be. But you see how it approaches southeast New England right here by Monday, the last day of the month. So maybe some showers for Cape Cod and eastern Long Island as the low pressure area just kind of sits there for a couple of days and then eventually starts to move up towards the Gulf of Maine up here and eventually into the Canadian Maritimes. We will also be watching the Western Caribbean for possible low pressure to develop down there. That region this time of year is definitely favored, climatologically speaking. Certainly the rest of the Atlantic basin is too, but out here it's just dead, especially this year. So we're really going to be watching this area right in here over the coming weeks, as there will probably be a few instances where these tropical waves that are still forming over Africa come off, stay rather innocuous, and then try to develop over here. It won't surprise me if we see a couple of times that happens before we're done with the month of October, which obviously is still a few days away before we start the month. But that area is the main area to watch as we end the hurricane season, the last 2 months especially. So the weekend's looking good, nothing threatening land, no big deal at all. Enjoy it. Very nice fall weather for the eastern United States, although a pretty powerful storm system coming in to the Pacific Northwest. That's a different weather entity altogether that we don't really cover here, unless it's a really big impacting event. But the bottom line is there's nothing to worry about from the tropics, and that's always good news. Have a great rest of your Friday and a great weekend ahead. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, my site. As always, an honor and a privilege to produce these videos for you. I'll have more for you throughout the weekend.